Are we live?
We are live.
All right. Tampa Bay Developer, Episode 1. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome in, welcome in.
My mic sounds weird.
Sounds weird?
Hello, hello. Now it sounds good. There we are.
There we go.
Welcome, everyone. Episode 1, Tampa Bay Developer Podcast. I'll be your host, Garrett Greco. I'm here with my boy, Tyler Stump.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Of course, of course. Episode 1, it only feels right to have you. You're going to be here from beginning to end, bro.
Yes, sir, man. It's gonna be a great journey. I'm really excited about this podcast, and I think we got a lot of great ideas and where to take it. And I'm really excited for it, man.
Me too, bro. All things business, real estate related. Anyone doing big things in Tampa, we're going to have on the show. We want to show this city off to the world and all the great things that's going on here.
So many great things, man. From real estate to the people coming in to just even the government here. There's so many great things about Tampa. Can go on and on and on.
Sports teams.
Tampa Bay.
Tom Brady's out, but
Oof, I don't know about the Lightning, man.
the Lightning, they were good for a bit.
Yeah. The game against the Sharks, man, and Florida, the Panthers.
Yeah.
Got smoked.
Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah, that's very true.
That was so hype a few years ago, though, when it was like Bucks won the Super Bowl, boat parade, Tampa Bay Lightning, back-to-back champions, Stanley Cup, electric. There's still a little buzz out there, though. It's not all lost.
It's not gone.
So, yeah, I am a real estate broker. I've got a real estate company. We have an office here in Tampa and Sarasota. Tyler's actually one of my agents, and he also helps me with the company. We're building it out right now. Tampa Bay Developer. I just started that Instagram because it was like I was doing a couple development projects, some like house flips and stuff like that. And I just wanted to share kind of what I was doing. And then we thought, man, what a great idea to start a podcast and talk about that, you know?
What a great idea, man. I mean, look at this, man. It's going to be a great podcast. I think this is something that's going to provide value to people. I think it's going to inspire. I think it's going to educate on the Tampa Bay area and real estate in general.
100%, man. 100%. There's so much attention on this city, too. Like, all the federal, like Biden was here yesterday, and it just reminded me of some of the news articles I've seen recently about the federal money Tampa's getting. So many grants, so much federal funding is coming into this city. And, you know, we need that, right? Like, the taxpayers here can't take on the challenge of, you know, creating the best roads and public transit and all that sort of thing. So to have federal money come in, I think is huge. I know we've got a grant for extending the streetcar. There was also another grant that allowed the streetcar to be free. There's another one coming in to extend the Riverwalk on the opposite side of the river it is now, which I think is huge. I mean, imagine both sides of that river with a Riverwalk connecting all the bars and the restaurants and the parks and everything in between. It's going to be insane.
No, dude, that's exactly what Tampa needs to be doing. We need to be building out that infrastructure and getting ready for, building out the transit. Like we need transportation for all this inflow of people coming in from out of state, from people coming in globally. Tampa's in the spotlight, dude.
All eyes on us.
Tupac.
It's yeah, little Pac reference. But it's like people want that too, right? Like the walkability factor. I think, you know, our generation more than ever wants to, you know, be in an urban environment. We want to be in our apartment, walk downstairs, hit the grocery store, hit the bars and restaurants, not be in a car, right? A lot of people who are younger moving into metropolitan areas don't want that suburban lifestyle, you know? So
yeah, agreed.
So to have that federal money coming in, the developers creating these projects that are geared toward that, with all the available space in Tampa's downtown, I mean, it's like half the freaking urban cores in a parking lot.
Exactly, yeah.
We got the space for it.
Dude, so much opportunity here.
So much opportunity. Plus, Florida, no income tax, sun shining, palm trees, beaches.
What's there not to love?
Exactly.
So much to do, man. The amenities here. Talk about any sport. Any sport. I used to play rugby. I mean, a lot of people don't know that, but Tampa Bay has a rugby team.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What's the team name?
Tampa Crew.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Shout out Tampa Crew.
Where do they have like a stadium or a field?
They practice and sometimes play out of just like high school fields, or there's a few fields around. It's just rugby's not that popular where you just have the goalposts, the tri posts.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever. No, I've watched a couple rugby games. When I was 16 years old, my dad took me to South Africa on this like safari. It was a crazy trip. We were there for 3 weeks, and on the TV there, like all they played was rugby. The Springboks.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh my God.
Huge over there.
Dude, they're killers.
Well,
They're
that was
killers.
that movie too with Matt Damon. I forgot the name of it.
Oh, here you go, man. The references.
Always with the
That
references.
movie, man. That movie. It's just different, man. 2000. What year were you born?
Jeez, dude.
Don't mind me asking.
You're going to
If you
expose
don't mind
me
me
like
asking.
that? I was born in 92. I'm 30. But I
Okay.
think the movie came out in like, I don't know, 03.
Yeah.
Probably after you were born.
Yeah, a year after I was born. Don't get it.
It's all good, bro. We need young talent. We need young, ambitious people in this city. It's the next. Tampa's on the way up. You know, young people are what is going to make this city great. You know, the next generation. It's interesting, like the University of Tampa. A lot of those kids are staying here, man. That's it. A lot of people aren't talking about that, but I think that's a huge asset to this city. Young, educated people that have typically came, right? UT's filled with kids that come from New York and Connecticut, usually the Northeast. There's, of course, kids from all over the world that go to that school. Typically, those kids, right, when they graduate, there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity in Tampa. They would all go back to their respective countries, states, cities. A lot of that talent is staying here now. That's huge, man.
Absolutely. No, dude, you see it. You see it now. I mean, we just have, your intern. You want to introduce Nicole into this? Or like how your intern helps you? And I mean, that's common. Like that's not, there's a few interns, like take for example, Serenity Capital just had an internship at UT.
Yeah, those guys are great. Those development capital group here in Tampa, they've really honed in on the University of Tampa and that internship program. I couldn't believe the real estate club, the turnout. It was extremely impressive to see so many ambitious people interested in real estate. On one hand, it's surprising, and on the other, I'm like, yeah, of course. If I was 19, 20 years old in college trying to get a business degree and I was ambitious and I was looking around at this city, seeing all that development and all the real estate and everything that's happening, how could you not be interested? So that room was filled, and those guys got to speak to that real estate club, and I think they've got like 4 interns over there, 5 interns.
Yeah, exactly, man. And that's how you have, being my age, and if I was in the position of these UT students, right out of college, man, I would take an internship with a real estate company or, any type of investor. Like if you're in that finance type of degree, if you're trying to get into the business, like Tampa there's so many opportunities to find an internship.
100%. And I think it's important too, because a lot of those kids are staying here. And so they're exploring what businesses are in the area. There's so much happening here in every industry. And as a young student, to take an internship in school and then have, usually you can have a job lined up outside of that internship. That's massive, man. So it's really a no-brainer that a lot of those companies are looking at the University of Tampa for highly educated talent.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, man.
How'd you get into real estate?
I just came across it, man, in high school, entrepreneurship class. That's where my ideas really started flowing. Like, I just couldn't go a breathing second without thinking of a new business idea. And I just really wanted to start up my own business in some type of way. Didn't really have money, but I was just really looking into it. Got a job working as a server, saved up some money. So as soon as I graduated, I could get my real estate license. I thought, hey, you could be 18, have a diploma. Why not get my real estate license? And I learned about investing, and I fell in love with it. Now my journey to get my first investment is fueled through my real estate career.
That's the way to do it, man. Were you like up all night on YouTube, listening to Grant Cardone?
Oh, dude, yeah, every night.
Course,
I was just being obsessive, like just obsessing over it just because I found that, I was passionate about it. And that's how I just got really lucky, man. Just like going through YouTube, looking up business, like just being in that environment and just coming across real estate. I'm like, it's a no-brainer.
What about, do you think that living here in Tampa has any impact on like that obsessiveness over your interest in real estate? Do you think if you were living in a different city, you'd have the same obsession?
That's a really good question. I think my love for Tampa has always been like, I've just, loved the city. I never really considered moving out. And just being so hyped up about Tampa and seeing the growth Tampa has been having and all the buzz around it, it's just exciting. So it just almost is, it's like extra fuel, I think. So I think if I probably would have got into real estate any other city, but in Tampa, it's just, dude, there's so much going on. How can I not? And if I'm obsessing over it, like just trying to ride the wave.
100%, dude. There's a lot to love around here. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, man. There's a lot going on.
How about you? How did you get started?
Man, long time ago. I got licensed 9 years ago. So I was a junior at Florida State. Go Noles. And over the summer, go Noles. Doing great, by the way. We're going to have a great season. That's a whole different podcast. We've got, so like, I don't know, same as you, right? Like I had always seen real estate as something that I wanted to do as a career, as an investor choice. When you're young, I feel like that's really when your ambition sets in. And so from a very, very young age, I would follow my mom around. She was a realtor. She worked for a title company. She was in the real estate industry a lot. So she would take me around in her car. Like my mom has a funny story of me in the backseat of her car. I was like 4 or 5 years old. And I'm pointing at houses going, Mommy, that's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Mommy, that, so like I kind of was always in that world. And then in high school, when I was applying to colleges, I actually found recently my admissions essay to Stetson University, which is one of the schools I applied to. And in that essay, it talked about, I think the question for the school was like, hey, what do you see yourself doing in 10 years? And in that essay, I put, I want to own duplexes. I want to own cash flowing properties. I want to obtain my real estate broker's license. I want to own a real estate company, like all this sort of stuff. That was 12 years ago. I think I was like 17, 13 years ago.
Wow.
But I've just stayed on that path, man, for a long, long time. So got my license in college. As soon as I graduated, started working with my mom. She was a realtor doing pretty well at the time at a big company down in Sarasota. And kind of like you, had that business mindset and jumped into the real estate sales space with the thought of like, how do I take my mom's business to the next level? And the clear answer was get my broker's license. My mom would be my agent. More money would be available to her because she had a large split to her broker at the time. So I think her split was like 25% plus other fees associated with that. So my mom, with taxes and expenses and the broker split, was taking home a very small portion of her commission checks. So immediately I was like, I'll solve that issue right there. I'll be the broker. You be my agent. I'll work on the marketing, advertising, administrative, legal, like,
yeah, absolutely.
All
the stars were aligned.
Exactly. The business side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Absolutely.
Instant saw that. 2 years later, got my broker's license, convinced some of her customers that it was okay that we were independent. This was like 6 years ago. It wasn't pre-Zillow. Like I think Zillow existed, but it wasn't as important as it was today. Today, Zillow and real estate and home buying and home searching are kind of synonymous. Like every person is on Zillow and realtor.com and those websites looking at real estate. Sometimes when you meet a buyer to show a property, like they know more than you about it.
Oh yeah.
Not if you're a good agent though. A good agent
absolutely knows more.
So got my broker's license, started Greco Real Estate. I've been making sure essentially the past 5 years that my mom's been expanding her business and she's okay. She's double, triple, quadrupled her business. She's been killing it. She's a rock star. And then I've really spent the last year just building the brokerage up here, trying to get good people on board, quality over quantity for sure on that end. Just focusing on branding and stuff like that right now. All the while I was doing that, I was also investing in real estate. So the first deal I did was a little house. It was 2015, so 8 years ago. That was 8 years ago. 2015 was 8 years ago. Crazy.
That's so insane.
But it was at the end of the year. Yeah, we bought this little house. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in Sarasota, and an old woman had owned it. She had passed away, so it was an estate sale, but she had beautifully maintained the property. That's always the property you want to buy, right? The property that's not old and decrepit, the property that's very well taken care of.
Something that you can add value to, but like you said, it wants to be well maintained and in good condition.
Yeah, it's super important because I think if you buy a property that needs a full rehab beyond cosmetic, meaning if there's structural issues, if the roof has issues, if the electrical and plumbing have issues, you're spending money bringing it back to baseline, and then you're spending even more money on cosmetic value.
Absolutely.
So that house we bought didn't have any of that underlying issue. There was no deferred maintenance in real estate, we call it.
Right.
So went in, blew the walls out, updated the kitchen, polished the beautiful old terrazzo floor, and turned it into a little gym. Now, this was a different market, right? So, we spent a few months renovating, and I think it was like spring 2016. Didn't make any money on it when we sold it.
That happens.
Different market, right? Because since then, the house is resold and resold again for hundreds of thousands beyond what we had in it.
For sure.
But learned a ton and absolutely fell in love with that value add space in real estate, taking a little diamond in the rough and turning it into a gym where someone comes in and just, they get excited and they're willing to pay more money for it because it's move-in ready, it's beautiful, it's on trend, no issues. So just fell in love, man. And then continued on and did a few more projects like that. The office, this studio we're in right now, was one of those projects, again, like no deferred maintenance, just was ugly and dingy and old. Bought it from the original owner. The building's only 20 years old, not even. And
it's beautiful.
Turned it into an absolute shining star.
Beautiful little studio in here.
So that
did a great job.
Thank you, dude. That value add space though is really that's kind of our bread and butter. And then beyond that, in 2017, I was a little older than you. I bought 2 condominium units, 2 little rental apartments. They were $59,000 a piece at the time, which is insane. It just sucks for young people that market doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
You can find good deals in any market, but I think the availability is a little bit harder for younger people because the prices have appreciated so much.
Absolutely. It's a difficult time.
But bought those 2, $59,000 a piece. They were renting for like $995 each. So you're paying $59,000. The 1% rule would be $590 in rent. These were renting for $995. So the numbers were insane. Spring 2017, bought those 2, renovated them, and increased the rents over time. The next 5 years in that same community, purchased another one and another one and another one, and ended up with 11 units in there. Again, renovated all of them, turned them into beautiful little rental units. The highest rent we got was, I think, $1,200.
Wow.
Packaged it up as a portfolio and closed last January for, I think, $110,000 per unit. So it was a great profit margin. And an interesting learning experience because that was my kind of first deal in rentals.
Yeah, exactly.
In combination with value add, right?
I think that's so important, what you're saying about experience. Like you initially going in, not knowing much, like you're just learning how to invest and buying your first property and how all the mechanics work of buying a property. It's interesting because you said, you spent this money and kind of broke even and then shouldn't initially, but I think a common thing amongst investors is just having that first deal not go always so great. Like that happens in real estate. Like you might have a downtime, you know, but the experience is what is important. Like what you get out of it. Like it's if you break even on, you know, 3 properties, the experience is going to take you to that next level.
There's more value than money.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So on that first deal, man, I even remember thinking, I think actually like I posted it on my Instagram. I was like, hey, I didn't make any money, but I learned a lot. And to me at the time, that was great. It's scary, man. Like your real estate investing is interesting. You're risking money. When it comes down to it, that's what you're doing. You're risking your money. How do you mitigate that risk? Well, a good way to mitigate that risk is your knowledge. As your knowledge and your expertise increases, the risk goes down. So our first deal, not making any money, it sucks, but man, we learned a lot, and it set me up for all the other deals I've done and that rental portfolio.
100%, dude.
You got to start somewhere.
That's why it's so important. If you're wanting to get into real estate investing, you need to be around that environment where you're just learning, like you're gaining knowledge, you're talking with people who are investors, you're just networking and getting in that know, so you actually know what you're doing. And the experience of actually going through it and maybe losing 20 grand, like that experience and those connections will help you to do better and profit more on your next flip or whatever it is, next investment.
100%. And the first step is just getting in there, though.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I will tell you, though, those nerves will always be there. So, like, I'm getting ready to close up my most recent deal. And, towards the end of the process, right? You purchase the property, you're in renovation phase, you're gearing up to get everything completed, and then the sale, and then you get your money. Towards the end of that process, the nerves come up. Oh, what if it doesn't work out? What if the market crashes? What if we're at war with China? Whatever, dude, your mind goes crazy. But I think looking back at the deals I've done and having confidence in them, you can kind of just close your eyes and, have that in your head. And then moving forward, you're like, you know what? I got this. We're good. Everything's going to work out. We're going to make it happen.
Exactly. And with time, your confidence is just going to go up. You're just going to be more confident in yourself. There's going to be less doubt. Obviously, there's risk involved, right? You're always going to have that, that stress of, there's a lot of money I'm playing with. But at the same time, your confidence goes up. You make smarter and faster deals and you close.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about.
100%.
It's a compound effect. It just takes time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. On this most recent deal, it's going to be a condominium in downtown Tampa and Channelside. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Modeling on that strategy, you want to be on trend, right? But you also want to kind of speak to the general population. You don't want to get too specific with your cosmetics, because if you get too specific, you're limiting your buyer pool. So it's kind of a balance between like, hey, I want to be on trend, but I don't want to be too trendy where in 3 months, something isn't cool. Like gray, right? Gray's kind of out. More of cream colors are in. Light wood is in. The gray tile floor that everyone was doing is a little bit phased out. Trends come and go. Real estate's a lot like fashion in that way. But capturing a large buyer pool is important. So on this most recent deal, this condominium, we're kind of going towards almost something that looks like the Tampa Edition, the Ritz-Carlton, Hyde Park House, all these new condominium developments. I want to try to match that, capture that buyer pool, and have a competitive price. Some of those new condominiums downtown are $2 million, $3 million. Ours is going to be right about $1 million. So looking for that buyer that doesn't necessarily have $2 million to spend, but they got $1 million and they want a beautiful place to live and they want a great location, and
such a smart strategy.
Boxes. Yeah.
Such a smart strategy, man. Yeah. Like looking at the buyer pool, like when you're actually renovating the property and making it look to how when you list it, you're fitting a market. Like it's such a smart play as an investor. Anybody who's dealing with real estate, even just your primary risk, like your house. Look around your neighbors, look at the sold comps, look at things that are selling and the top of the price. Just compare it to that and fit that market that you're trying to sell to.
Interesting.
That's a great point.
Interesting. You say fit the market, right? You're almost creating your own buyer pool, where it's like, if I have a property that everyone loves, right? If it checks more boxes than the other property that maybe is super buyer specific, the one with the larger buyer pool will typically achieve a higher price. So going into an investment with the mindset of like, who is my buyer for this investment? That's super important.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's a great point.
When are you looking to get your first deal, bro?
My first deal. Soon, man. Soon. I'm hoping end of 2023, maybe early sometime next year. Ideally, as soon as I have the
What would be
capital.
your ideal deal?
My ideal deal.
The ideal
I like that.
deal.
It's pretty cool.
That's the next name of the podcast, right?
Oh my God, the ideal
Let's switch
deal.
it. Let's change it all up.
That is so sick, dude. Someone's taking that. It's gone.
We'll check.
Yeah. Anyways, dude, but my ideal deal is a off market, like get it low, something run down, multifamily, duplex, triplex. Like if I can get my hands on multifamily where I have rental income coming in and like helping me out with the mortgage essentially, and just being in my own property, where that money I'm just paying off the loan and I'm building up equity. So ideally, multifamily is where I want to be.
And by multifamily, you mean it could mean like duplex,
triplex.
Right?
Yeah,
I think that's the easiest way to get involved. Single family is a great space to be in.
same thing too, man. Like if I could find single family, I could get in low, fix it up, just live in it for 2 years.
That's the same mindset I had where it's like, hey, I'm not even looking for a specific thing. I'm just looking for an opportunity and I'm looking for something that makes sense and something I believe in.
Absolutely. It doesn't really affect me where I live.
So many investors have qualifications. They keep it on paper, very corporate, check boxes, we don't buy that property. It doesn't fit XYZ criteria. I think there's a certain art to this business inherent. And when you see a property and you believe in it, it's almost impossible to explain. I mean, I mentioned earlier about like a diamond in the rough. I think like, there's just not like a formula you can go through to do this. There's a lot of house flippers and wholesalers that do that. Yeah. There is that type of thing, but I think there's an art to it that if you don't have, it's.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's interesting. It's really interesting because it really is an art. It's like a dance that you have to practice. You have to learn the movement. That's life, bro. The movement.
It's real estate sales too. Like, look what you've done. You got your first listing, luxury, new construction. You hustled that for months and months and months and months, and you won that guy over and you earned his business. It's something to be proud of. And it's something that you might not have been able to handle the day after you got your license, but you learned how to do it. You gained that expertise.
Exactly. They say it's like when you get your real estate license, it takes about 2 years to get your stable business coming up. I thought about that recently because somebody told me that when I first got my license. They're like, it takes time. You're just going to have to just immerse yourself, learn, get as much experience as you can. Don't worry about the commission, but just try to learn as much as you can. And by 2 years, you're going to have stable business and the expertise and the ability to close. So I think that really hit me because I'm coming up on my 2 years in September.
Congratulations, dude. You've been killing it so far.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, so I guess the idea would be like, you go in there and you make that first commission check, you pocket that money, you pay your taxes, and you get that first deal done.
Yeah, 100%, dude. 100%. So what year did you get your real estate license? How many years are you in?
I got my real estate licenance in 9 years ago, so it was 2014.
Your associates was?
Sales associate was 2014, and then I think like it was probably it was 3 years later because I was a junior in college. So 3 years later, I got my broker's license.
Okay. That's pretty awesome, man. You're killing it. As a broker, man, I know you love it.
Well, really thanks, dude. You're a little biased, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's true too.
Dude, yeah. So Tampa, right? Like what we do and what we've been talking about is such a unique opportunity because we're in a city that's, I think, poised for growth for the rest of our careers. I would be a little bit more skeptical. I don't know how I would feel if I was in a different state, especially a state where people are leaving. I don't know that we'd be having this conversation, and I don't know that I'd be as confident. So on one hand, I don't know if I feel good about my business plan and the deals that I've done, I don't know that I would feel as good as I do if I was in a different city or state.
Right. Well, there's obviously developments in other cities, right? I think there's that constant motion of just real estate. Like, people are going to be developing in major cities, right? But what do you think makes Tampa distinct from the other cities?
I think Tampa just has so much going for it on every level. I think, first of all, just the geography. I think the barriers to entry here, there's a lot of water. It's not a state where you can just completely spread out. Even our metropolitan area isn't an area where you can completely spread out. So a lot of the land and a lot of the developments are going to be a little bit priced higher and hold their value better because of the barriers to entry. It's very hard for a developer to spread out here. We have a lot of water. So the geography is good in that sense. The weather, of course, is incredible. We're in Florida. It doesn't snow here. I think, on a state level, government wise, regardless of the politics of it, if we talk about we have no state income tax, that's always going to be a driver. That's always going to be an incentive for businesses, corporations, individuals, retirees, even a young person who's in a high tax state who's doing well for themselves. All of those people are always going to be incentivized to come here.
Right, absolutely.
You talk about also like local government. I think they've done a great job. Jane Castor, the mayoral elections coming up in April, city council race, everything like that. And I think that the people in place now have done a good job. You got to imagine it's tough to maintain this growth. And I think given the circumstances, everyone who is in the positions that they are in have done pretty well handling everything. So that's good. Not having an incompetent local government is always a good thing as a real estate investor.
Oh, yeah.
Owning a real estate company, you want to be in a place where the government says, hey, look, we're going to respect your property rights. Hey, we're not going to be very anti-development. The city here has been very pro-development in a positive way, right?
Absolutely.
Where they're not just letting anyone and everyone tear down the trees and build wherever they want. They're kind of controlling the growth in a good way. I think that's a huge, huge factor. Beach, palm trees, what's not to like, man? I think that and we got Tom Brady. Well, we did, but
oh man, you had
R.I.P. bro.
R.I.P.
But it's like, dude, I just think that the stars are aligned. We have everything going for us. We're young and we're in the right place at the right time.
Absolutely, I agree. But I mean, you talk about Tampa Bay 5-10 years ago. How different is that from now?
Oh my gosh. Well, you're from here. You grew up outside of Tampa, right?
Yeah, North Tampa.
So, but you've obviously seen the growth that's happened here. I mean, I'm from here originally, and gosh, man, since I was a kid, my father was born here, my grandfather was born here, and his father came here on a boat from Sicily. So my family's been here a long time. So from my perspective and my father's and grandfather's perspective, hearing their stories about what this city was and what it is today, it's unbelievable, to say just the least, to use one word. Unbelievable, right? It's insane, man. Every day there's a new project, a new restaurant, a new business. Stuff is happening. Our economy's strong. 5 years ago, though, right? Downtown Tampa was really like suitcase city. People would be there from 9 to 5, and after 5 p.m., it was a dead zone. Now you go there. I live in Channelside. It's like, dude, there's people walking around all the time, 24/7. You go to Water Street on a weekend. Oh my God. It's like, it looks like New York. I mean, there's buildings, there's people, there's traffic, there's so much happening. Whereas 5 years ago, that entire area was basically industrial. It was a flour mill. There was shipping. There was like welding companies. It was an industrial area, and now it's a beautiful urban neighborhood with people going out to eat and enjoying these parks and living there. I mean, it's really incredible to see.
Incredible views too, from like, just put yourself in not one Tampa. What's the one? Edition Hotel.
Edition, yeah.
Yeah. Put yourself in Edition, just standing on the rooftop bar, looking over, watching the sunset. Like, it's such an incredible view. Remember when we went to the Tampa Club?
Yeah.
Incredible, man. Like
Yeah,
it's inspirational.
That's an interesting place. Like the Tampa Club has that top floor of the Bank of America building downtown. What a unique spot that is with that rooftop bar. It would be really interesting if that was not a club and it was just a restaurant, like a regular restaurant, like some sick, I don't know, imagine like a Japanese, like a sushi place up there, something like that. I think Tampa needs more of that. And as we grow, I think you'll see it. But the view, seeing these developments from that top-down view, the scale of what's happening in this city is unbelievable.
It's wild. It's insane.
It's not just like one development. It's not just Water Street. It's like there's like 3 Water Street sized developments happening. There's like Water Street Phase 2, and then like the rest of the project that's being built out on that eastern portion of downtown. North of that, Channel Side, north of that, you've got like Daryl Shaw's Ybor South Gasworks development, and then right next to that, you've got
Harbor.
Yeah, Ybor Harbor.
Yeah, it's wild.
I mean, it's if you added up the acreage of development, it's probably like it's easily over 100.
Easily. Daryl Shaw's, it's a 50 acre. Gasworks is 50 acres, right?
I believe his is like 40 plus.
Just one of those.
Harbor.
Just one of the projects.
I think Daryl Shaw alone is. I think he owns 60, 70 plus acres.
Man.
So when you're up in a place like the Tampa Club, looking out over the city, or at the Edition rooftop, or wherever, and you try to imagine what this place looks like in 10
having
years,
that picture in your head, just put it in your head, man. It's just
why invest?
incredible.
Why invest anywhere else? I've been extremely focused on Tampa. Once the condo deal goes through, knock on wood, fingers crossed, the whole thing, right? I'll be in a position to do something really big, and I want to put a capital group together, and I don't want to focus on anything but Tampa, Florida. I believe in this market so much.
Dude, I mean, look at Daryl Shaw. He does too.
Think about that level.
Guarantee it.
The bullishness, the ambition, the confidence to be putting that amount of capital, not diversifying, putting that amount of capital in one, not metropolitan area, but literally one development.
This guy's not just an investor, right? He's not just looking at underwriting a deal on a pen and paper. Has the background knowledge of Tampa and has seen the numbers to where it makes sense to buy 60 plus acres and develop here and put my money in this huge city and growing city.
He's more than an investor. He's more than a real estate developer. Like Jeff Vennick, he's a visionary. Mm-hmm. To deploy that amount of capital into one project and believe in one city that much is just, you are a visionary, and you're changing the way the city's going to look, and you're changing the way the city's going to operate. Think about too, just the tax implications from projects like that. How much more money is this city and county going to have for our roads, for our schools, for our police, for our fire department? As this money comes in and develops and builds out the city itself gets better because we have more funding to be able to do projects like that.
Such a huge point.
It's just a snowball effect, man. I mean, like these huge developers that have come into this city and are bullish on this market and believe in this city, they're changing every aspect of it. And then of course you're going to see smaller developers come in, building individual towers and townhome projects. And you're probably going to see luxury single family developers from across the country put to bed whatever they're doing in other markets that aren't performing and come to Tampa.
Absolutely. It's like these developments are fitting into a puzzle piece. Like they're in the right spots to really leave those small developments room to expand and grow together. Like you see, all the way from Ybor to Channel Side to the Channel District, that entire strip. And it's almost like everything inwards from there, west to west gets growing, just small little developments. There's just so many transactions being made.
I think if someone added it all up, like Tampa Tomorrow, I think they had that post where it showed, I don't think they could fit it on one picture, but it was like, You know, like every building and every project, I guess, proposed or under construction in Tampa. It was like 20 billion.
I would love to see that.
20 billion. That doesn't sound right. That's too much. Maybe it was like 5 billion or whatever, or whatever the number was. But when you look at the scale of what's happening here, oh my God, it's so exciting.
It's so wild.
So wild. Two, like, you know, I think Tampa is an interesting place. Like I mentioned earlier, barriers to entry. There's a lot of water around the urban core. You know, once all these developments are complete within the urban core, right? Gas Works, Ybor South, Water Street, future phases, also the Heights too, around Armature Works. That's kind of another project that is almost like a Ybor South or a Water Street, where it's a planned development and it's mixed use. So there's commercial components and hotel and residential and retail and all that. Once that's complete and everything else, what are we looking at? I mean, are we looking at like a Boston like size city? Or like it's a different city.
I think Midtown is a great example of how it's just sparking up in little spots, right? Like Midtown's such an awesome spot, an awesome development. And it's almost like it's getting spotty, and throughout time, man, like as these developers are just swarming in, it's just going to compound. More and more and more developers are going to come in because they see, you know, guys like Daryl Shaw coming in here and killing it.
It's almost like this is such a probably a shitty analogy, but crypto, right? Like one guy buys it, another guy buys it, then this famous dude buys it, and then now everyone buys it, and then more people buy. I mean, it's really the same thing, except instead of an idea or instead of a product or instead of the next cool thing, it's like a city itself, and real estate investors are just flocking here. I feel like we're on a freaking rocket ship, and we haven't even taken off yet. A lot of people are mad about rent and home prices. Wait till all that shit's built downtown. Wait till that shit's built downtown, and wait till you see what rent is in the next few years.
Look at New York.
Look at New York. Look at LA. Look at Chicago. Look at any major
compared to those,
city.
Man. Like you said, we haven't even taken off.
We haven't even taken off. Not. And we've came so far already. I think a lot of natives here, even like myself, I struggle with it too, right? Like I have a tough time thinking that the prices now are not ridiculous. If I'm working with a home buyer or an unrealistic seller, it's really hard for me to get over the fact that the prices aren't going down. The prices are not going down. So when I talk to people that are moving here from, as an example, New York, I'm working with this guy, right? So he wants to wait. He thinks prices are going to come down next year. And I'm trying to even tell myself, man, with all the development, with the influx of high net worth individuals moving into this city, there's almost no chance. There's no statistical chance that prices are going to fall dramatically enough where it would be worth waiting. If you see a property that you like, buy it. Don't wait.
Exactly.
You're not going to get, now what discount are we talking about? Okay, maybe it's next year's an election year and you know, people are a little bit skittish.
I think what really gives us that confidence as real estate professionals is Tampa Bay. Like we're obviously so hyper focused on Tampa, right? And we love it and we're excited about it because we're in it. We're in the Tampa Bay real estate. I think it would be harder for somebody to not realize that our market is different than the national market. I think that's such a critical point, that like Tampa Bay has just so many different factors to it for its growth and its development potential. Like it's hard to see that. And when you come in with the expectation that like, you know, there's, you know, you can't afford that home that's too expensive when, you know, it's just, you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, like this guy, you know, he's saying like, I don't know what's happening down there, but up here, you know, homes are sitting on the market and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, dude, we're in a different world.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, we're just in a different world. And I think economically too, right? There's so much talk of recession. There's some, you know, all the interest rate scare, interest rates are up and this and that. It's like, look, we are so insulated. There's 1,000+ people moving here a day. There have been for a long time. COVID accelerated a lot of that growth. Now that we're past COVID, people are staying. We are in a different economic position than the rest of the states.
Absolutely.
We really, really are. And I think you're right, man. I think explaining that and getting that message across is one way a real estate agent can separate themselves. than the other agents, because the other agents might be watching national headlines, national outlooks, things of that nature, but real estate's extremely local. And I think real estate agents here in Tampa need to understand that we're working in a different space, and you need to be up on this market, and you need to have a confident, bullish outlook on this market, and make sure that you understand what's happening here. And that's part of the reason why I want to do the podcast too, is there's a lot of like posts on Instagram and I don't know, news articles about the development and about everything going on in the city. But we started this podcast because real estate agents, we should know what's happening. It's about market knowledge. You got to be able to sell Tampa to a guy moving from New York if they're scared and if they think prices are going to go down. If you think you're going to get a 10%, 20% discount or more on Tampa real estate, you're going to be waiting forever.
Exactly. It's just how a market works. You have to understand there's obviously ups and downs, right? But in a market where it's all about supply and demand, right? We have a lot of supply coming up and a lot of demand. So Tampa Bay is just in a different position than a lot of other markets right now. We have, with sports and everything we've already talked about, it's really just driven Tampa Bay to a different level of growth.
I think so. And I think we also beat out other metros within Florida, like Orlando, Jacksonville, Miami. We're in a unique position. I think Miami kind of had its heyday. Now, Miami will always be Miami. It'll always have its allure. I believe it's a different buyer. I believe it's a different market completely. And not to say that Tampa will outpace Miami in terms of growth or population or anything. I almost don't believe that. But what I do believe is we're in a better position for growth, right? We're in a position where, Tampa could look like a Boston, as an example, a smaller, tight, dense, extremely expensive San Francisco-esque price range. Miami's kind of already built out. A lot of, for the most part, it's already expensive. A lot of buyers actually come down to Florida. When they think of Florida, they think of the east coast of Florida. They think of Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton, the whole South Florida metro. And I think when they get there, they're a little bit shook at how, I'm trading this crazy metropolitan area with the issues that come with that. Traffic, highways, just the absolute psychotic nature of like a huge city.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And they get to South Florida and they're like, oh shit, well, this is like the same thing but with palm trees.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they come here and they really find a real gem. I think that Sarasota and moving up to Clearwater, kind of our Tampa Bay metropolitan area, really is a gem. And I think when people come here, they appreciate it a lot.
For sure. You just made me think of a great question. What do you think Tampa culture, right? Do you think it's none like any other? Like, I mean, you're talking about Gasparilla, man.
That's fun.
Gasparilla is just so unique.
That's our little Mardi Gras.
So unique, right? Exactly.
Yeah, Tampa's got its own culture. I think exploring that is
How would you describe Tampa's culture to somebody who didn't know anything about Tampa?
That culture is also a reason why, and history is why I wanted to start the podcast, to speak on that. There's a lot of new people in Tampa. We want to make sure that these people understand what we're all about, the history of this city, where we came from, where we want to go, what we used to look like, the old traditions of this city. Tampa culture to me is Cuban sandwiches, cigars, cafe con leche, the minarets of University of Tampa, Bayshore Boulevard, Gasparilla, of course, plays a huge role. You're right, man. We've got our own culture. Exploring that is important. Tampa does have its own little thing going, right? There's a new chapter in the book for this city. But the culture of the city needs to be expressed in a positive way and share it with the new people who are here. It's like, hey, welcome to the neighborhood. Here's kind of how we've been doing it. Here's the vibe. Here's our traditions and Gasparilla and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. I think Tampa just does such a great way of presenting that culture that anybody, like developers that come here and, they're prospecting, looking at Tampa, like they're thinking they might want to do a project here. I'm sure they see that culture and are like, man, I want to be a part of that. Like a lot of these developments are doing that. Look at Ybor Harbor. Ybor Harbor is almost incorporated into like, it's just a development that fits. It fits Tampa.
Well, that's just Daryl Shaw being a good dude. You know, he that guy gets it in terms of like Tampa culture, keeping and respecting what is already here and what once was. Mm-hmm. So that development that you're talking about, Gas Works in Ybor South, what he's doing there is fitting that thing in like a puzzle piece. The north portion of his development is going to be matched up to, because it abuts Ybor City, so it's going to have 3 to 4 story buildings, brick construction. It's going to look like historic Ybor City. And then as you move south on that development, the part that abuts like Channelside and downtown, that's going to have like, you know, the skyscrapers, glass, steel. It's going to look more modern.
For sure. Yep.
You know, you talk about keeping a developer and investor coming in and keeping up with that culture. What a great example. That guy is very well respected in that way because he kind of understands the significance of Ybor City and how Ybor City really put Tampa on the map. You know, Ybor City is the reason why Tampa is the cigar capital of the world. We're Cigar City because of that area. So as a developer to come in and create a space that speaks to that culture, and he's literally building buildings to match those historic structures.
So cool, man. So
cool. And then you get something like Water Street where they've spent an extremely high amount of capital on making sure that really the entire development is like very walkable with the mature oak trees. So it's nice and shaded with the wide sidewalks so people can walk and not get run over by a freaking car. You know, all those lanes are only like 1 lane apiece in Water Street.
Yeah.
Developments of the past were a huge parking garage. You put a tower on top and you kind of just disregard the sidewalks. They've spent a lot of money on just making sure it's a good place to live for people.
Such a great job.
So it's like not only is there a lot happening and not only are there a ton of developments here in Tampa, but they're extremely high quality. And the visionaries that are implementing those developments really care about the city and the culture and the vibe, and they care about what they're creating.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Interesting discussion about historic preservation. You talk about, you know, that in a way, Daryl Shaw is doing that. He is really allowing that culture to still live here, right? He's building into that culture. I just think that's such a sick thing to do. Like,
yeah, it's like the Coulter Urban is doing a condominium called One Tampa Residences downtown, right across from Curtis Hickson Park. Our team actually toured it yesterday. Shout out that team. They were great. Gave us a really cool presentation. But what they've done is kind of interesting. They ended up having to bulldoze an old, beautiful brick historic building, which is unfortunate. The good news there is they're going to incorporate it in the new facade. So they're going to try to rebuild that look of that old historic building and create that kind of into a modern skyscraper. So it's like, I think that it's interesting. There's a lot of compromise coming into this city. And it's very, very important for developers to understand that culture and kind of, you know, use that to their advantage. A lot of natives are pissed. There's a lot of people that have been in this city for a long, long time who get emotional about all the condominiums, right? All the buildings going up. They're worried about the traffic. You know, single family here in South Tampa, a lot, and also other neighborhoods around the city. But those people are worried about the trees, those big, beautiful, you know, grandfather oak trees that get torn down. A lot of natives are pissed about that. It's controlled growth, right? It's kind of like what we talked about, you know, the government making sure that, hey, look, you know, we welcome developers. We want you to invest in the city. It's how a city grows. We can't turn that faucet off. And the fact of the matter is there's going to be people moving here whether we like it or not.
Absolutely.
So the answer to that is how do you kind of control it or shape it in a way where it's a positive impact for everyone? And I think the city's done a decent job at kind of mitigating the risk of someone coming in and bulldozing every tree and building skyscrapers everywhere. I mean, this ain't Miami, bro. That's not really what we want. I don't think it's what the new generations want either. I think people want more walkable, beautiful environments they can enjoy their time in.
For sure, man. Absolutely.
Yeah,
One Tampa's done such a great job. That was such an awesome opportunity yesterday.
Yeah, it was really cool to see that whole project. It's gonna be beautiful, man. Interesting on the investment side, putting a reservation on that and then holding it for a certain period, wait till construction, close on it, maybe upgrade it, put some wood floors in, stuff like that, and then try to flip it. I don't know. It seems risky.
Yeah, because, when they get to the very last level, 3-year project, those houses are going to be at market level. They're going to be appreciated. So if you get into the investment early.
3 years, too. What's this city going to look like in 3 years? You know what I mean? It's going to be, again, it goes back to what we're saying, man. The prices are going to go up. Prices ain't going down, and neither is rent.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's all, it's a part of a city urban development process.
100%, dude.
At extreme level.
Yeah. Yeah. And every level, really.
You're right.
You ready to wrap this up?
Ready to wrap it up, man. It's a great podcast.
All right, dude. Well, I'm super excited to get this thing rolling with you, bro. Tyler, he's going to be producing it. So he's like Joe Rogan's Jamie, right? We're going to get some guests on. If anyone knows, or personally, or even if you want to come on this podcast and talk about Tampa and your business and your vision for this city, we'd love to have you on. We're looking for good people, quality people. If you're a deal maker, any power player, anyone in this city, let us know. We want to have you on the show.
Maybe you're just interested. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're just an interested person. Just let us know if you're going to hop on. Like, anybody, really.
We're down for whatever.
Tampa Bay Developer.
Tampa Bay Developer, episode 1.
Episode 1. Make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, like, subscribe, leave a comment. How else do we get engagement?
Share with your friends. Share with your neighbor.
You let them. You're a lot younger than me. You let them know. Whatever they need to do.
Subscribe. It's the best thing to do.
All right, brother. Love you, dude. Hey,
Back
episode
soon.
1
Yes,
wrapped.
sir, man.
See you guys
Love
next
you,
Friday.
man.
Peace. That was fun, dude.
That was very fun.
That was good. Hour long. Oh, happy. You think that was good?
I think so, man.